Hi everyone, Natalie from Britannia Kitchen and Home here. Well, I love to travel, and one of the things that I love about it is trying all the local cuisine out, and then when I come home I try and duplicate the recipes, see if I can duplicate what I've had when I've been traveling. So when I was in Greece, I had an orange cake that was just out of this world. So that's exactly what I did when I got home. I found a recipe and I tweaked it a bit to come up with what I thought was a pretty good duplicate of it. So that's what we're making today, Greek orange cake. So I've prepped some things here. The first thing that you want to do is make a syrup. And this is very simple. You just cook it on the stove. It's 1 2/3 a cup of water, 1 2/3 cup of sugar. You're gonna zest 1 orange and then put in a cinnamon stick, or if you don't have cinnamon sticks, just use a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. You're gonna simmer that until the sugar's dissolved and it's thickened just slightly, so it's still gonna be quite liquidy, but it's just gonna be a little bit more like syrup than water. So you do that first and then you set it aside for later. And then you're gonna mix up your cake. So this is 7 ounces of yogurt. I use a Greek yogurt, and 7 ounces is just a little bit shy of a cup. We've got a cup of corn oil or vegetable oil, whatever you have on hand. We've got 1 1/4 cups of sugar. We've got the zest of 1 1/2 oranges. So I'm using a microplane zester, and I'm actually using it upside down so I can twist the orange with my hand and then we capture all the orange zest. I find this an easier way to zest citrus because you can eyeball how much you're collecting and have a good handle on the piece of fruit. So I am hardly putting any pressure on this. If you find you really have to force it, it's probably time for a new zester. That's 1. Okay, I think that's about a 1/2. So next we need 1 1/4 cup of orange juice. So I've already squeezed the orange that I used in the syrup. So I'll squeeze these guys. We're looking for 1 1/4 cup. If the oranges don't quite give you that much, you can top it up with orange juice or even a little bit of water. Just depends how juicy your oranges are. I think I'm just about right there. 4 teaspoons of baking powder going in, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. We're going to stir that all up. Oranges smell good. Okay, so next in front of me, I've got this pile of phyllo dough, and what I've done with it is I've thawed it and I've laid it all out over my counter or whatever space you have, and you're going to let it dry. It takes about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Usually when you're working with phyllo, you want it to be quite damp, but we want it to be crispy because we want it to break off into little pieces, and that's exactly what we're going to do with it. We're just going to start scrunching this into little pieces. Tends to go flying a little bit, but that's okay. I think this would be a good project for the kids. They'd probably get a kick out of it. It's also a good stress reliever. Now, if you haven't worked with phyllo before, you find it in the freezer section. And typically I use a name brand, but during this pandemic, there's been a shortage of some things, but I did find store brand, and I'm sure it's going to be just fine. You do all sorts of things with phyllo. You can wrap salmon or spinach with it, cook it in the oven in little pockets. This cake is not going to be your typical fluffy, light cake that you would put icing on. This is going to be really dense and chewy and syrupy. Super yummy. Almost there. Okay, I'm gonna stir this all together. This is a crazy looking concoction when you're done with it. Citrus always reminds me of spring or summer, so that's when I tend to make this, quite often for Easter. Okay, so I have a 9x13 baking sheet here, and I've greased it. You can use, I'm using ceramic, you can use like a non-stick type if you prefer, whatever's easy for you. Okay, so it's just kind of a sloppy, wet mess in there. Spread it all out. Okay, you're going to cook this for at 350 for 45 minutes. And when it's hot out of the oven, you're going to take your cold syrup that you already made and you're going to slowly ladle it over the top until it all gets absorbed. And you put it in the fridge. So you want to eat this cold. If you eat it hot out of the oven, it's just going to be sort of crumbly. It won't form together. So cold with whipped cream, with Greek yogurt, maybe a little bit of honey drizzled over the top. You could serve ice cream with it, or it's really just great on its own. So give it a try. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks, everyone.